All right, so in this video, I'm going to explain my entire painting process. I'm going to start all the way from the initial plein air painting out in the field and take you all the way to the finished painting where I put in a dinosaur at the end, and then I take it out and then I put it back in. Okay, welcome to Paint Coach. My name is Chris Fornatero and I'm here to help simplify oil painting so that you can get better, faster. Okay, so all of my landscape paintings start the same way. They start with a plein air study. I really like plein air painting. I try and get out at least once a week to plein air paint. I'm actually in a plein air painting group that I really like because it humbles me because I'm with a lot of really good painters. But recently I went out to Myakka State Park here in Sarasota, Florida to just do a plein air painting session on my own. There are just like endless places to paint at Myakka State Park. There's also endless alligators everywhere. There's so many alligators in there, and like this river here, this water is just absolutely infested with alligators. I've been to Myakka Park a lot, and every single time I go, I just see at least 10 alligators in this water. And the crazy thing is people like kayak and even paddleboard in this river. Anyways, when I plein air paint, I really prefer to paint either in the mornings or the evenings. That's when I find the light is the best. When the light gets directly overhead at noon, it's just a lot of colors get washed out. Things become very flat. There's not, good shadows. So as I'm walking around looking for a subject to paint, I'm not thinking so much about subject matter as much as compositions of light and dark shapes. I'm squinting my eyes, I'm simplifying the scene into big shapes and looking for a good compositional pattern within those light and dark shapes. I'm always trying to think back to one of my favorite composition books, which is Edgar Payne's book on composition of outdoor painting. If you really want to get better at landscape painting, and especially composition, I highly recommend this book. I've had it for a while. I'm always going back to it. It does a great job of breaking down and actually organizing compositions into groups. It's like the L composition, spiral composition, all these great things, and it's got great drawings and diagrams demonstrating everything. I'll put a link in the description below to where you can get that book. I ended up choosing this scene. I really like how these trees in the foreground kind of create this tunnel effect for this other tree out in the sunlight in the distance. And also having one tree close up and one tree further away and being able to use atmospheric perspective and warm and cool colors to translate that distance will be fun. I also like the combination of the verticals with the moss hanging from the trees along with the horizontals in the light patterns in the grass. So after getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, I complete this plein air painting that I'm really happy with. So the next step is that I take it back into the studio where I touch it up. I want to enhance what I've done and make slight corrections without losing the feel in what I captured out in the field. And one of the main things that I did is I simplified everything that was happening up here in the trees. I find that a lot of the changes that I make when I get back in the studio are just simplifying things. That seems to always be the answer. Less is more. I also kind of pushed and enhanced the cool colors in this tree in the distance to really portray a sense of atmosphere. So I actually ended up liking this one enough to make it into a larger painting. I don't always feel the need to do one of my plein airs into a larger painting. It's just I'm always going out and collecting studies, and when one hits and I think it's good or it has something that could translate well into a larger painting, I will do that. I actually haven't been doing that as much as I should have. I feel like I've gotten too picky with what I want to blow up into a bigger canvas. So I solved that problem by just going ahead and buying a few big canvases to force myself to want to put something on them. So I got these big blank canvases in my studio just staring at me. So it's going to force me to paint bigger paintings. So this canvas is actually linen. It's an 18 by 24 stretched oil primed linen. And I start by toning it with a wash of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue to get rid of that white canvas because it helps me gauge values. Speaking of values, I actually did a rough value block in here using that same burnt sienna ultramarine blue mixture. I like blocking out the values because it acts as a roadmap for your values when you start adding color. It's just one more element that you can kind of figure out and solve at the beginning of your painting before you get too much paint onto the canvas. All right, so I actually let this underpainting set and dry overnight. I didn't need it to take that long to dry because I used a lot of paint thinner and liquid original, which is a fast drying medium, to block this in. But it being dry did help me start building clean paint on top of it. Now I used liquid original as my medium for this whole painting, which does dry relatively quickly. I never was like waiting for layers to dry. I don't really work in layers per se. I try and work alla prima as much as possible. So I started with the sky on this one. Now, starting with the sky can be very helpful for you. Some painters like starting with the sky because if they feel that they can get the sky pretty accurate right off the bat, then they can use that sky to key in the rest of their painting, meaning they can use that sky that they know is dialed in right and say, okay, in my reference, how much darker is this tree to the sky? How much darker is this grass to the sky? And then make those same relationships on your painting. I always say that oil painting is like putting together a puzzle. And the more pieces of the puzzle you have, the easier it is to solve for the missing pieces. The hard part is when you start and you have no pieces. You have to get something on there to start comparing to. So you want to get something on there that you feel you can get pretty accurate without any other pieces telling you that it's accurate. This is why a lot of times I like to put in my darkest darks, because a lot of times they're pretty much almost black. I don't use black, but you know, they're very dark and they're relatively easy to get in right. So then I can say, okay, I know what my darkest dark is. Now, what are the colors and values of everything in relation to that? I might do it on the other end of the spectrum sometimes, and I'll put in a really bright highlight, knowing that is my lightest value in the painting. I'm going to use that, and every other value needs to make sure to be lighter than that, and I can use that light value as a key for the rest of my painting. So this is where I want to get first with my painting. All the big shapes are blocked out with flat color. I can already tell right now at the beginning stages of this painting whether it's working or not. This tree in the foreground is looking like it's in the foreground. The tree in the background is looking like it's in the background. Everything is looking right. You really want to solve these problems of big shapes and big values right here at the beginning and making sure all these big puzzle pieces are working together. You don't want to get further down the line and putting detail and all this stuff and just realize this entire shape that you built all this detail in was like the wrong shape. You didn't draw it in properly, or it just wasn't the right value. The whole thing needs to be darker or lighter. So, you know, step back from your painting, work these big shapes, and get these big pieces working right. It will save you a lot of headaches. And honestly, from this point on, it's just a matter of moving around the painting, never staying on one area too long. I'm constantly comparing values. I'm constantly comparing colors. I put something in, I say, okay, this is darker. Is it dark? How much darker is it than this part? How much lighter is it than this part? And doing that and bringing up all areas of the painting together will help you dial in the correct values and color. So I get pretty much done with it, and honestly, I'm not thrilled with it. I like it, it's fine, but I'm just like, I don't know, it's just something about it. Now, for the past like few months, I've toyed with this idea of putting dinosaurs into landscapes. Like I've always seen, you know, traditional done landscapes kind of in the style that I paint, and a lot of times you will see animals, you'll see, you know, like cows in a field, you know, maybe a horse, some sheep. It's like a very common thing to see, and they work it in as part of the landscape. I've always liked those paintings. I always thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to do that, but with a dinosaur? And because a lot of the paintings of dinosaurs that I see are kind of done in a certain style, which is more of kind of like a showcase of the dinosaur, and it's almost like concept art in a way. You know, there's maybe like a lot of action to it. You know, there's like bunch of different kind of dinosaurs all in the same scene. It's a pretty like cinematic looking type thing, but like I wanted to do a more subtle version of that. Like I really wanted to make it, you know, like when a plein air painter goes out and, you know, say they're painting like a field with some barn and there's a cows, like they'll incorporate the cows in their plein air painting while they're painting. I wanted to make it look like I did that, but with a dinosaur, as if it was really there and I was just capturing it in this landscape, and I wanted to work on the composition. So I was looking at this painting and I was like, huh, I think this dinosaur would work well in there. And I actually had already purchased a few weeks ago a model Triceratops that I could use as a reference. And so I was like, huh, I think this actually might work. I took some reference photos of my Triceratops in the correct lighting, you know, matching the direction the light was happening in my landscape, and I put it in on Photoshop, and I was like, huh, I think this could work. So I scraped down the paint in the area that I was going to paint in the Triceratops. I drew it in, I painted it all in one session, and I changed up the lighting on a little bit. I made it more dappled light to make it a little more interesting on its back. And I was like, wow, like I really like this. Something was still bothering me, and I was like, huh. And I looked up like a size chart of how big Triceratops were, and I was like, oh, I think I got this too small. I mean, it's kind of vague, you know, the scene that I chose, there's nothing in the scene really that you can use as a scale comparison. I mean, it's hard to know exactly how big this tree is, but I knew how big this tree is because I actually did the plein air painting. I was like, no, it needs to be bigger. So I actually scraped down that Triceratops and then put it in bigger. You know, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I don't think it's the best thing I've ever done. I think I can do this a lot better. I think it definitely would have helped to plan it out more. I think that if I planned it more and specifically chose a certain landscape and positioning the dinosaur in there a certain way to really enhance the composition, to have like a more sound painting, it would have been better. So, am I going to do more dinosaur paintings? I don't know. I just bought this on Amazon, so you tell me. All right, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I release a new video. If you want to learn the fundamentals of oil painting, check out my Foundations of Oil Painting course. I have a link in the description below to where you can get that. I also got a Patreon page with full-time painting video tutorials. If you got any questions on materials, what kind of brushes I use, paints, and all that, I put links in the description of this video and all my videos of all the materials I recommend. And if you want to see what I'm painting on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero here telling you to go get painting.